Springdale University had a charm that made everyone feel like they belonged. Nestled amidst oak-lined streets and classic red brick buildings, it was the perfect place for new beginnings. For Emily Carter, a bright-eyed journalism sophomore, this semester felt different. There was an electricity in the air, a sense that something or someone was about to change her life. Emily spent most of her mornings in the university library, surrounded by towering shelves of books. One rainy afternoon, as she reached for a particularly thick volume on investigative reporting, her fingers brushed against someone else's. She looked up and met Ryan Mitchell's gaze. Ryan, a charismatic law student, had an easy smile that seemed to brighten the dim, quiet library. "Sorry," Ryan said with a grin. "Library collisions should probably be part of the curriculum." Emily laughed, feeling an unexpected flutter in her chest. They struck up a conversation, first about the book, then about classes, and eventually about their lives outside the campus. Their connection was instant, effortless. Late-night study sessions turned into walks around the campus lake. Coffee dates in the student cafe became the highlight of Emily's day. Ryan would casually brush a strand of hair from her face, and Emily found herself blushing in ways she hadn't in years. Yet beneath the laughter and easy conversations, Emily had secrets. She had begun investigating a professor at the university, someone whose reputation didn't match his actions. It was part of a story she had promised herself she would uncover, a story that could change lives. On a chilly October evening, Emily invited Ryan to help her sort through her notes in her dorm room. Papers and books were scattered across the desk. She hesitated for a moment, then said, "I've stumbled onto something big. I just don't know if I'm ready to tell anyone yet." Ryan looked at her seriously, sensing the gravity in her tone. "Whatever it is, Emily, you can trust me. We'll figure it out together." It was a promise that would echo in the months to come, though neither of them knew just how much trust would be tested. Outside, the wind rattled the window panes as rain pelted the roof. A storm was coming, both in weather and in life. That night, Emily and Ryan sat together on her dorm bed, talking about dreams, futures, and the small moments that made life extraordinary. But in the shadows of Springdale University, something darker was already stirring. A presence that watched, waited, and would soon shatter the world they had begun to build together. Emily and Ryan's connection deepened over the following weeks. Their study sessions became routine, but each meeting carried a sense of anticipation, like the quiet before a storm. Springdale University, with its sprawling lawns and ivy-covered walls, seemed to celebrate their budding romance. Students passed by, oblivious to the bond forming in quiet corners of libraries and under the dim glow of dorm room lamps. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the story she was chasing. Her professor, Dr. Henry Caldwell, was well respected, even admired, but she had stumbled onto something unsettling, a series of financial transactions and off-campus meetings that didn't align with his public persona. She hadn't shared her discoveries with anyone except her trusted journal, and yet, the feeling that she was being watched began to creep into her thoughts, subtle at first, like the shadow of a cloud across a sunlit path. Ryan noticed the occasional tension in Emily's eyes. One evening, as they walked along the campus lake, he asked gently, "You've been distracted lately. Is something bothering you?" Emily hesitated, twisting her hands in her jacket pockets. "It's just, I'm working on a big story, something important, but I don't want anyone to get hurt, so I'm keeping it quiet for now." Ryan nodded, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "I understand, but you don't have to carry it alone. I'm here." Their closeness provided comfort, but the shadows lurking around them were growing bolder. Unmarked cars started appearing near the library at odd hours. A stranger once lingered too long near the dorm entrance before quickly disappearing when Emily looked his way. Small, almost imperceptible things, but enough to make her stomach twist with unease. Despite the unease, Emily tried to maintain normalcy. She continued attending lectures, engaging in campus activities, and laughing with Ryan, though at night, her thoughts returned to her investigation. She began secretly scanning her professor's meetings, taking notes and photos when she could, always careful not to leave traces. One night, Emily returned to her dorm to find a note slipped under her door. It was short, typed, and chilling. "Some truths are better left buried. Ryan was the first person she called. Within minutes, he arrived, his concern palpable. "Emily, you're scaring me. We need to figure out who sent this." She nodded, fighting the urge to panic. "I know, but we have to be careful. If we make a mistake, it could be dangerous." As they sat together in her room, the rain drumming against the window, an unspoken realization settled between them. The story Emily had stumbled upon was bigger than either of them had imagined, and what had started as a simple romance was now entangled with something far more sinister. Springdale University had always seemed safe, a haven of learning and youthful ambition. But for Emily and Ryan, the walls that once held comfort now felt like they were closing in, carrying whispers of secrets, shadows, and danger that neither of them could yet fully understand. Emily's investigation was gaining momentum. Late nights spent poring over documents and cross-referencing details were starting to reveal a troubling pattern. Dr. Henry Caldwell wasn't just a respected professor. He had ties to individuals with questionable backgrounds, people who preferred to operate in the shadows. Emily's pulse quickened as she realized the potential danger of what she had uncovered. It started with small warnings, emails from anonymous addresses, unusual phone calls that ended in silence, and fleeting glimpses of figures near her dorm building. Each incident seemed disconnected at first, but Emily knew better. Someone was watching her, tracking her every move. Ryan noticed the change immediately. During a study session in the library, he leaned in close, concern etched across his face. "Emily, this isn't just stress from school. Something is wrong. You're being careful, but someone is following you, aren't they?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I think I may have stumbled onto something dangerous, Ryan, and I don't want to involve you." "I'm already involved," he said firmly. "I'm not letting you face this alone." Despite their growing fear, life on campus carried on. Students laughed in the hallways, sports teams practiced on the fields, and the autumn wind carried the scent of fallen leaves. Emily and Ryan clung to those moments of normalcy, but the sense of impending danger never left them. One evening, Emily stayed late in her dorm, reviewing evidence she had gathered about the professor's connections. She felt a sudden chill and turned to see her dorm room door slightly ajar. Heart pounding, she closed it, only to notice that a few of her notebooks had been moved, pages slightly bent as though someone had rifled through them. Panic surged through her veins. Ryan arrived minutes later, scanning the room. "Whoever did this wanted you to know they were here. They're warning you." "But Emily, this could get serious." Emily nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I need to be careful. I can't stop now, though. I have to find out the truth." That night, Emily dreamt of shadows moving silently around her dorm, of whispers she couldn't understand. The next day, the campus was buzzing with a shocking rumor. A student in a neighboring dorm had been found dead under mysterious circumstances. Details were scarce, but the story sent shivers down Emily and Ryan's spines. The first death was a warning, a glimpse into a darkness that had now crept into their world. Emily realized, with a sinking feeling, that her investigation had drawn more attention than she anticipated. The romantic world she and Ryan had been building was now overlaid with fear, suspicion, and danger. Every step forward felt perilous. Every friendly face could be hiding a secret. And yet, despite the fear, they couldn't stop. The truth had to be uncovered. But as night fell over Springdale University, the shadows grew longer, and Emily and Ryan had to confront a chilling reality. The person responsible for the first death might already be watching them, waiting for the next move. The line between love and survival was. Students whispered in hushed tones about the sudden death in the neighboring dorm, while rumors and speculation spread like wildfire. For Emily and Ryan, the danger had moved from background noise to a constant, pressing reality. Emily tried to keep her focus, spending long hours in the library, cross-referencing the professor's financial records with the anonymous tips she had received. But even in the quietest corners, she felt the eyes on her. A shadow lingered too long by the doorway. Footsteps echoed where none should be. Her journal, the one she had meticulously filled with notes and evidence, was now her most valuable and vulnerable possession. Ryan stayed close, offering a protective presence. "We need to make a plan," he said one evening as they walked past the dimly lit campus paths. "Whatever we uncover, we have to be ready. Someone doesn't want this secret out. Emily nodded, gripping his hand. I know, but I can't ignore it. The truth is too important, and I can't let fear stop me from finishing what I started. Later that night, Emily returned to her dorm to find something that made her blood run cold. Her room had been broken into. Drawers were open, papers scattered, and her laptop, containing the bulk of her investigation, was missing. She froze, heart hammering in her chest. Someone had been in her personal space, rifled through her life, and taken the one thing that connected her to the truth. Ryan arrived moments later, having sensed her unease. Together they scoured the room, looking for any clue as to who had done this. Among the chaos, Emily found a small card, left deliberately on her bed. You should have stopped when you had the chance. Panic surged, but Emily's determination only hardened. They're trying to scare me off. The next morning, campus security found another student's body. This time, someone who had been rumored to know about Emily's investigation. The death was violent, calculated, and meant as a warning. Emily and Ryan realized with chilling clarity that they were next if they didn't act fast. They retreated to Ryan's apartment off campus, reviewing the evidence and tracing connections. Emily's research pointed to Dr. Caldwell's private dealings and the network of people surrounding him. Every name, every transaction, felt like a piece of a puzzle that, if solved, could expose the murderer. But with every clue uncovered, the danger grew. Emily received another anonymous message, this time digital, a video showing her dorm room being ransacked. Her heart sank as she realized that the person behind these acts was not only watching her, they were orchestrating each move, staying one step ahead. I've been wrong about so many things, Ryan admitted, pacing. I thought we were just students living our lives. But this is bigger than either of us imagined. And it's personal now. Emily looked out the window at the rain-soaked streets below, the reflection of shadows flickering across her face. We have no choice but to keep going. The truth has to come out, even if it puts us in danger. The couple exchanged a silent, determined look. Their love had grown amidst the ordinary charms of college life, but now it was tested against the extraordinary threat closing in around them. Springdale University was no longer just a place of learning. It had become a labyrinth of danger, deceit, and deadly secrets. As night fell, the city lights blurred in the rain, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper threats, and Emily and Ryan realized one terrifying truth. Rain lashed against the windows of Ryan's apartment as Emily and Ryan pored over the latest evidence. Their eyes were bloodshot, minds fatigued, but determination burned in their hearts. Every lead Emily had uncovered pointed to one chilling conclusion. Someone on campus was willing to kill to keep secrets buried. It was late when Ryan's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Meet me at the old observatory, alone, midnight. Emily stared at the screen, dread pooling in her stomach. This has to be a trap, she whispered. We can't go alone. We'll never get another chance if we run into him unprepared. Ryan clenched his jaw. I don't care if it's a trap. This could be our only way to get answers. If we wait, someone else could die. Against their better judgment, they drove to the abandoned observatory on the outskirts of campus. The building had been unused for years, its iron gates rusted, windows boarded, and wind howling through the cracks. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the... Then, a movement, a figure emerging from the shadows. Emily froze, her heart hammering. The silhouette was unmistakable, Dr. Caldwell. His expression was calm, almost unnervingly composed, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of anger. You shouldn't have dug this deep, Emily, he said, his voice low, cold. Some truths are dangerous, and some people won't survive them. Emily swallowed, trying to steady her shaking hands. Why? Why all the lies? Why the threats? How far are you willing to go to keep your secrets? Ryan stepped forward, protective. You won't threaten her, not anymore. A tense silence filled the room. Then, without warning, Caldwell lunged toward a nearby shelf, knocking down a heavy metal rod. Ryan grabbed Emily, pushing her out of harm's way, but the scuffle left them both disoriented. It was clear, Caldwell wasn't bluffing. In the chaos, a loud crash echoed from the floor above. Someone else was there. Emily's pulse quickened. Another shadow emerged, a masked figure, silent, moving with deadly precision. Caldwell's calm demeanor slipped as fear flickered across his face. Emily realized with horror that she had underestimated the situation. This wasn't just about exposing a corrupt professor. This was about survival. Every step, every decision could be life or death. Ryan grabbed her hand, and together they darted through a side exit, narrowly escaping into the rain-soaked night. Behind them, the echoes of footsteps and shattered glass reverberated, a chilling reminder of the danger that was now hunting them. Soaked and trembling, Emily and Ryan crouched behind a wall near the observatory. "We have to go public," Emily whispered. "We have the evidence. We can't stay silent anymore. If we don't act, someone else will die." Ryan nodded, determination hardening in his eyes. "Then we fight. But we do it smart. We're not just exposing a professor. We're facing a killer who won't hesitate to strike again." As the storm raged around them, Emily realized that their love had become their shield. It was no longer just about romance. It was about survival, trust, and the courage to stand against someone who had already proven capable of murder. The game had changed. The hunter was now aware of the prey. And Springdale University, once a sanctuary of learning and laughter, had become the stage for a deadly confrontation that was far from over. The night air was thick with tension as Emily and Ryan returned to campus, carefully avoiding the usual paths. They had spent hours planning their next move, determined to expose the truth and survive the deadly game that had consumed their lives. Every instinct screamed caution, every shadow seemed to hold danger. Using the evidence Emily had collected over weeks, emails, photos, and financial records, they devised a plan to confront Dr. Caldwell publicly, in front of campus security and trusted faculty. It was risky, but hiding any longer was no longer an option. They arrived at the university auditorium, where a small group of officials had gathered under the pretense of an emergency meeting. Emily's hand shook as she placed a folder on the podium, containing every piece of incriminating evidence. She took a deep breath. This professor has been hiding dangerous secrets. People have already died, and more lives are at risk. It ends now. Dr. Caldwell entered the room, feigning calmness. But this time, Emily wasn't alone. Security officers flanked the doors, ready to intervene if he tried anything. Caldwell's gaze flickered over the documents and then landed on Emily. For the first time, his confident facade faltered. "You have no idea what you're doing," he hissed. "I know exactly what I'm doing," Emily replied, her voice steady. "And now everyone will see the truth." Suddenly, Caldwell lunged toward the podium, but security acted instantly, restraining him before he could harm anyone. The room erupted in chaos, students and faculty shouting in alarm, but Emily and Ryan stood their ground, heartbeats pounding in unison. As Caldwell was taken away, masked accomplices, those who had been threatening Emily, were also apprehended, thanks to the evidence of communications Emily had gathered. The network of corruption and violence unraveled quickly under the scrutiny of the law. Emily's investigation had not only exposed the professor, but also brought justice to the students whose lives had been threatened or lost. In the quiet aftermath, Emily and Ryan walked together along the campus lake, rain falling gently, washing away the tension of the past weeks. "We made it," Ryan whispered, his arm around her shoulder. "Yes," Emily replied, looking at the reflection of the campus lights on the water. "But we'll never forget, and we'll always be vigilant." Their love, forged in the pressure of danger and darkness, had survived. The campus had tested them, but together they had turned fear into courage and truth into justice. The shadows that had threatened to consume them were gone, for now, but the bond they shared was unbreakable. As the sun rose over Springdale University, Emily and Ryan knew that life would never be the same. Their story, born from love, tested by murder, and sealed by courage, would remain a reminder that even in the darkest places, light could prevail. The campus was safe, the killer exposed, and love had endured through the most perilous of trials. Springdale University could finally return to its quiet charm, but Emily and Ryan knew the world was a little darker, a little more dangerous, and a little more real than they had ever imagined.